In this video, we'll be explaining every Loki variant we know about in the MCU. So here are 10 different variants of Loki as seen in the Disney Plus series. The first Loki variant we're going to talk about is the one we're most familiar with, the Loki from the sacred timeline of the MCU. This is the Loki that we followed since his debut in Thor, where he was revealed to be the adopted son of Odin and the brother of Thor. This Loki has gone through a lot of changes throughout his appearances in the MCU, from being a villain in the Avengers to an anti-hero in Thor: The Dark World and Thor: Ragnarok, to a tragic victim in Avengers: Infinity War, where he was killed by Thanos. This Loki variant story seemed to be over until Loki L1130, the one that the Loki series focuses on, also known as variant L1130 by the Time Variance Authority or the TVA. This Loki was created during the events of Avengers Endgame, when the Avengers went back in time to steal the Infinity Stones from before their destruction by Thanos. During their mission, they encountered the Loki from 2012, who had just been captured by the Avengers after his failed invasion of New York. This Loki managed to escape with the Tesseract, creating a branch in the timeline that deviated from the sacred timeline. This Loki was then captured by the TVA, an organization that monitors and maintains the order of the sacred timeline, and was recruited by Agent Mobius to help him hunt down another Loki variant that was causing chaos across timelines. This Loki's journey led him to discover many secrets about the TVA, the sacred timeline, and himself, as well as to meet other Loki variants along the way. One of the most memorable Loki variants we saw in the Loki series was Classic Loki, played by guest actor Richard E. Grant. He was seen sporting the classic Loki costume dating back to the first appearance of Loki in the Marvel comic Journey into Mystery number 85, issued in 1952. Classic Loki thinks himself to be a coward in this adaptation since he didn't face Thanos, which led to the death of the original Loki in the MCU. Eventually he grew lonely and started missing his brother Thor, but as he tried to leave the planet to go back to Asgard, he was captured by the TVA. Classic Loki sacrificed himself to help Loki L1130 and Sylvie escape from Alligator, a monstrous cloud that devours everything in its path, by creating a massive illusion of Asgard, demonstrating his immense power and potential. Another Loki variant we met in the Loki series was Kid Loki, played by Jack Veal. He was the ruler of the Void, a desolate place at the end of time where the TVA dumps everything they prune from the timelines. Kid Loki claimed that he killed Thor in his timeline, which was his Nexus event that caused him to be captured by the TVA. Kid Loki was accompanied by Alligator Loki, another Loki variant we'll talk about later. He gave Loki L1130 a sword made from one of the horns of his helmet, and helped him and Sylvie escape from the Void. Boastful Loki was another Loki variant we encountered in the Loki series, played by Deopia Operai. He was one of the Lokis that lived in the Void, along with Kid Loki, Classic Loki, and Alligator Loki. Boastful Loki claimed that he had wielded all 6 Infinity Stones in his timeline, which was his Nexus event that caused him to be captured by the TVA. However, his claim was dubious and he had no proof to back it up. Boastful Loki betrayed his fellow Lokis by allying with President Loki, another Loki variant that we'll talk about later, but was double-crossed by him and his followers. Boastful Loki fought against the other Lokis in a chaotic brawl, and his ultimate fate is still unknown. Sylvie was the female variant of Loki that Mobius and the other TVA agents were hunting in the Loki series, played by Sophia DiMartino. She was taken by the TVA as a child while playing in Asgard, but it's still unknown why she was taken or what her Nexus event was that led to her capture. Sylvie managed to escape from the TVA and began her quest to uproot it and destroy everyone in charge of it. She used her power of enchantment to possess and manipulate people across the timelines, and to hide in apocalyptic events where her actions wouldn't create any branches in the timeline. She also planted time bombs in various locations, creating multiple branches that overwhelmed the TVA. She eventually met Loki L1130 and formed an uneasy alliance with him to find the truth behind the TVA and the sacred timeline. She also developed a romantic bond with him, which created a unique Nexus event that alerted the TVA to their location. Sylvie was the one who killed He Who Remains, the creator of the TVA, and the keeper of the sacred timeline, unleashing a multiversal war. Alligator Loki was one of the most surprising and hilarious Loki variants we saw in the Loki series. He was an alligator with Loki's helmet, and he was apparently a Loki variant that had been captured by the TVA. Along with him, we also saw Throg, a variant of Thor in the form of a frog. Gator Loki was loyal to Kid Loki, and he even bit off the hand of President Loki when he tried to take over the Void. He also helped Loki L1130 and Sylvie escape from the Void, and was last seen with Kid Loki and Classic Loki. President Loki was another Loki variant we saw in the Loki series, played by Tom Hiddleston himself. He was based on the comic book storyline where Loki ran for President of the United States in 2162. He was the leader of a group of Lokis that followed him to the Void, where he tried to take over the kingdom of Kid Loki. However, he was betrayed by Boastful Loki, who had made a deal with him, and then by his own followers, who turned on him for a better offer. He was attacked by Alligator Loki, who bit off his hand, and then by the other Lokis, who started a massive fight among themselves. Frost Giant Loki was a variant that we briefly saw in the Loki series during a montage of different Lokis being processed by the TVA. He was a blue-skinned, red-eyed, horned giant, resembling the Frost Giants of Jotunheim, the race that Loki originally belonged to before he was adopted by Odin. It's unknown what his Nexus event was or what happened to him after he was captured by the TVA. Tour de France Loki was another Loki variant that we briefly saw in the Loki series during the same montage of different Lokis being processed by the TVA. He was a cyclist wearing a yellow jersey and implying that he had won the Tour de France, the most famous bicycle race in the world. It's unknown what his Nexus event was or what happened to him after he was captured by the TVA. Subscribe for more Marvel content, and if you liked the video, check out the one on your screen too.